Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Ian Bushie. I'm the Minister for Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures, also Minister responsible for the Manitoba Wildfire Service. We want to take this opportunity to give kind of a regular update on the wildfire situation and our responses. We're going to share some information of note and to provide updates on the evacuation efforts. We'll try to keep our comments brief so we can take some questions, but I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that we can be mindful of our officials' time or two as they are getting out to have those discussions each and every day with Manitobans. I'm also pleased to sit here today to say we've launched the Manitoba Ready portal at mbready.manitoba.ca. This portal is for people who have been evacuated or may be in a wildfire zone, but anyone can look at it as well. It shows current wildfires. It shows current wildfires, shelters, and information for the services, and you can access as an evacuee. This portal will continue to be updated with more information over the coming days, so keep checking back on it. Heading into the weekend, we're seeing fires that are holding, cooler temperatures hopefully on the way a little bit, and generally less activity in overall. We're continuing to deepen our control lines on the firefighting side and value protection efforts. Still many fires of note that Kristin will update you on as well. This is truly an all-hands-on-deck situation. Manitoba has deployed more than 650 people to support the firefighting efforts, with a little more than 175 firefighters from out of province, including some from the U.S. who have arrived today. We've deployed more than 57 aircraft and more than 80 firefighting equipment to communities that need it. We continue to talk with local leadership and work through issues as we hear about them. For example, we're addressing some of the concerns we heard in the Flin Flon area about feeding firefighters with a plan to prepare meals. A huge thank you to the community members who have shown up and continue to show and assist in the future in all of this. I want to thank in particular Chief Monias from Pimicikamak Cree Nation, who has been an excellent partner for our government in sharing the resources and again getting the messaging out to communities all across Manitoba. For Manitobans looking to help, our government will match every dollar donated to the Canadian Red Cross. Manitobans wishing to make a financial donation can do so online at www.redcross.ca or by calling 1-800-418-1111. And I do on a personal note want to say that the engagement we've had from Manitobans is a truly all-hands-on-deck situation. So the input we've had across all entireties of the province and the country, in fact, has been instrumental in helping us articulate our firefighting response. And we encourage Manitobans to adhere to evacuation orders and be fire smart across all of Manitoba as we go forward in this in a good way. And we will get through all this together. And I will pass it on to Kristin now to update us on the specific fire situations as it pertains to Manitoba.
Thank you, Minister. Kristin Hayward, Assistant Deputy Minister responsible for the Wildfire Service with Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures. As of today, there are 27 wildfires burning in Manitoba. We have had 111 fires to date. We have a number of fires that are in close proximity to communities, and all of these are considered out of control at this time. In the north, North 2 is near Lynn Lake and is over 71,000 hectares. We continue work with the Office of the Fire Commissioner and local fire departments to set up value protection, maintain the value protection, and shore up areas north and west of the community. Fire North 5 is in the vicinity of Genpeg, Cross Lake, Pimicikamak Cree Nation, and Whiskey Jack Landing, and is over 3,000 hectares. We're making good progress on that fire, and Office of the Fire Commissioner is bringing in additional personnel today to assist with preparations in the community. Fire North 10 at Split Lake to Taskwayak Cree Nation is over 20,900 hectares, and we continue to hold lines along the west and north sides of that community. In the east, Fire 61 in the Bird River Nopaming area is nearly 198,000 hectares. We continue work east of Bissett and around Wallace Lake to set up and maintain value protection and install guards to protect the communities. The largest fire in Manitoba right now is in the vicinity of Flin Flon and Sheridan. This fire came from Saskatchewan and is over 307,000 hectares on the Manitoba side. I'll note that this was previously reported as two separate fires, Fire 24 and Fire 17. These fires have now merged into one. So if folks are looking at our fire data online, you will still see Fire 24 reported as 0.1 hectares. That is just to keep the number active so that we have that for historical data record purposes. The fire has not actually been reduced to 0.1 hectares. It's been combined. So I wanted to make that note. We've been working diligently with Office of the Fire Commissioner and Manitoba Fire Service in the communities of Flin Flon as well as Creighton, and work around Baker's Narrows and Cottage area south of Flin Flon continues today. Fire West 25 at Puckatawagan is nearly 9,800 hectares. We're making really great progress to further secure the community from that fire, thanks to favorable winds over the last few days. And finally, Fire West 28, which is near Baker's Narrows Provincial Park, originated in Saskatchewan, but now covers an estimated 4,700 hectares on the Manitoba side, and our focus there has been on value protection for structures at risk and protection of the Flin Flon Airport at Baker's Narrows. There's a number of other fires of note that continue to burn in the province, but most of those are relatively stable at this time. I'll note that the weather over the last couple of days has improved our ability to get some pretty good progress done on these fires. We have had cooler temperatures, a little bit higher humidity. Winds generally have been fairly low to moderate. We are expecting that general trend to continue, which will be helpful for our efforts. There is precipitation in the forecast on the weekend for some areas of Manitoba, including areas where we have fires in the northwest as well as the east. At this time, those precipitation amounts are pretty variable and uncertain. So I'd like to remind Manitobans that just because you might see a blob of rain on that precipitation map, that's not going to be enough to put out these fires. We will continue to be working on these fires for some time to come, but it certainly will help us to make good progress. And then just finally, I will also acknowledge, as Minister Bushie did, the out-of-province resources that have stepped up to assist Manitoba. We have Parks Canada arriving in the province today, the United States crews, as Minister Bushie mentioned, as well as a number of other agencies that have been supporting us and continue to remain in province. At this time, I'll pass it over to Kristin to share an update on behalf of emergency measures.
Thank you. As Kristin indicated, wildfire affects broad swaths of Manitoba at this time. Our state of provincial emergency stays in effect. 21 communities have declared states of local emergency in Manitoba. There are 26 evacuated communities across the province, and 4 communities remain on short evacuation notice. The impacts of these fires are being felt across the province, and together we're working with partners at the municipal level, the federal level, across nations to respond and support those who have been impacted and those who are evacuated. I'll hand it to Minister Naylor to speak more on that point.
Thank you, Kristin. My name is Lisa Naylor. I'm Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure and the Minister responsible for the Emergency Management Organization. Thousands of Manitobans have been displaced from their homes and communities, and as a government, we have moved very quickly to give them safety and shelter. Working across multiple government departments, working with community partners, with Canada, we've accomplished a huge scale evacuation in a fairly short time. Because of the huge scale of this crisis, we did open congregate shelters to provide immediate safety. However, as policy, Manitoba aims to provide hotel rooms for all evacuees. Now, the majority of evacuees are in hotel rooms or with friends and family. The evacuees have shown incredible patience and resilience throughout a time that for many, it may be one of the most difficult of their lives. And we need to, as Manitobans, all continue to come together and support with kindness and compassion what has been happening for our fellow citizens. I also want folks to know that the Winnipeg Humane Society established a shelter for pets of evacuees who aren't able to keep them with them while they are sheltering. And we do know about some pets that were still left in home communities. We've been working with emergency services and firefighters in different communities, Flin Flon as an example, who are helping to feed and look after any pets that may have been left behind. We can now move on to questions.
How are people getting access, Minister, to financial support through the Red Cross, just for the cost of day-to-day living? Appreciate maybe their hotels are covered and they have access to meals through the Red Cross, but it is costing people to be away from home.
Yeah, so do you want me to take that one? There is, I believe today that the money will start, that program of a daily stipend is coming into place. So all of that is being organized through the Families Department, through our emergency social services. And most people should expect to have their checks within 3 to 5 days of application. There may be some delays depending on whether folks have email addresses or not, but that is working well. And, some of those stipends come through ISK, through Canada. And so, but we are working in lockstep to make sure that everybody, regardless of where they've been evacuated in Canada, receives the benefits that they need.
Are people still being sent to Ontario to stay in hotels there?
Yeah, I can take that one too. Yes, so Manitoba secured 1,500 hotel rooms in Ontario, and Ontario has been incredibly helpful and welcoming on this regard. I do have a number, I think it's around 800. I'm looking at the experts, but there are still available hotel rooms there, but we have, it is about just under 800 rooms have been assigned of those 1,500 hotel rooms.
How many people, do you have numbers on how many people are still staying in congregate settings and whether they will be transferred to hotels?
Yeah, we're absolutely working on that. I believe it's about 359 people as of this morning in congregate settings. That number shifts and changes daily as we have new evacuees arriving, as we have new opportunities for people to move into hotel rooms. And but we have thousands of spaces available in temporary shelters, but we're only requiring a fraction of them at this time.
Just getting back to the hotel story, there's been some data floating around showing that there are rooms available in Manitoba. So why is it that evacuees are being sent to Ontario and not remaining here in Manitoba?
Do you want me to take that one too? Okay. I'll just keep taking them. So right now we have 1,732 hotel rooms that have been assigned for evacuees in Manitoba. We have a little over 200 rooms available, with another 200 anticipated to become available over the next few days. In part, at the very beginning of this crisis, that there was an offer of rooms before we were able to mobilize as many rooms here in Manitoba. And there was a lot of rooms available. And certainly, just as a reminder, when we did the largest evacuation period, when we had to evacuate Flin Flon and some other communities at the same time, we already had 2,500 people at that time who'd been evacuated from other communities. And earlier on in this, we had also evacuated people into Manitoba from the fire that affected the White Dog First Nations in Ontario as well. So this has been going on for a long time. There's been a lot of moving parts, and we are happy to accept that support from our neighboring communities that have reached out to support in that way.
Question for Minister Bushie. We spoke with a retired conservation officer from Flin Flon who said he, along with a number of retirees, have reached out to the province over the last week asking to let them help fire crews provide assistance to those that are up north. They have felt like they've been ignored and they have been told no from the province. What is your response to those retirees wishing to provide assistance?
Well, I'd like to show our appreciation for all Manitobans that are stepping up in this time of need. And I also want to assure Manitobans that our Manitoba Wildfire Service is the best of the best. So when we have time to engage and have those communications from either retired civil servants or people with expertise in the various areas around wildfire suppression, we engage those conversations all the time, and we take that advice and we kind of move it forward as well too. It's also very unique. It's a very unique situation in terms of what this is in Manitoba. So there is not a one-size-fits-all approach necessarily because of the terrain, the climate, the environment, the precipitation, equipment that we have on the ground, boots on the ground. So for us to be able to have the conversation as to how can folks help It's been very great to be able to engage that, and we do have those conversations, but it's also about community safety as well too. So we do want to not put folks in harm's way, but we do want to help stand up the boots on the ground that we have. So we are having those conversations, and we encourage Manitobans that want to be able to reach out to reach out and engage those conversations, and that advice is more than welcome, and we kind of put that in place with what we have on the ground.
This is a question for the panel, but do we have a number on how many communities, First Nations, are under mandatory evacuation orders, distincting from how many are voluntary? Do we have a distinction between?
Yes, so 26 communities are under mandatory evacuation orders. There's 4 communities who are on short evacuation notice, and there are a handful that are self-evacuating due to air quality issues.
So it would be 4 that are voluntary, we could say?
No, those are on short evacuation notice.
Short evacuation.
You said 27 wildfires. How many are out of control right now?
Just give me one moment. 9 of those are out of control where we're responding. There's 3 additional ones that are out of control that we are just monitoring. So those will be more remote areas, so 12 total.
12 total, perfect.
Yes.
And in terms of maybe security, Minister Naylor, did you have any issues regarding security in those congregate area or hotels? And if so, or if not, what measures are you taking to make sure people feel safe in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Manitoban's safety is of the utmost importance to us, and we know that there can be risks and challenges in congregate settings. So we have partnered with the Downtown Community Safety Partnership to increase their downtown patrols. We're working with the Red Response Team and focusing on proactive intervention, de-escalation, and social supports. These are cultural advisors who go to the sites with where the evacuees are staying and provide cultural activities for children and youth. We're also working with MKO to bring in First Nations safety officers to provide support for First Nations leadership and evacuees at congregate shelters.
Do you have an updated number on the total amount of evacuees?
We have over 18,000 registered evacuees, but we expect, that there are many more who are evacuated who have not registered with the Red Cross because they're staying with family and friends or they're not needing support.
So on the daily stipend, that money is coming from the Families Department? Am I understanding that correctly? Like, I think people are wondering how they're getting access. They've registered with the Red Cross and they're not getting financial support.
There's 2 streams of financial support. So Indigenous Services Canada is responsible for support for First Nations, and the Emergency Social Services through Families is responsible for the rest of Manitobans. But we are working together to ensure a timely rollout and the right support and a equal support across for all Manitobans.
May I add to, just as Minister Naylor said, we're working to ensure that that's a unified process. So payments will be rolled out through the Red Cross to evacuees, regardless of what community they've come from, regardless of which department of the 2 Minister Naylor mentioned are helping to coordinate and work together. So those 2 streams, like Minister Naylor described, are coming together, and funds will be flowing through the Red Cross to those evacuees.
But they would have to be registered whether they're staying in a hotel or with family or friends.
That's important. If Manitobans have, been evacuated and they haven't yet registered with the Red Cross, it would be important for them to do so that they can receive supports. And that can happen on the website, or if you go to our new portal, if you click on the area that you've evacuated from, there's tons of information that can point you to resources available, including the registration with the Red Cross.
Regarding the communities that have been evacuated or on notice, are there any new evacuations today or new alerts or notices when it comes to evacuations?
No new mandatory evacuations as of this morning.
Maybe a question for Mr. Bushie. Why did you feel that MB Ready was necessary? Was there a lack of something, or why was this new website necessary?
I think, Minister Naylor, I think could take that question. That's great.
It came out of my department, and I'll just say we saw it as a really important opportunity to consolidate information all in one place. So most of this information was already available, but you might have to go to the EMO website for some of it. You might have to go to the Office of the Fire Commissioner site for some of it. You might, there were different places, different streams of information. Manitoba 511 to find out what roads were closed. You can get all that information here, and it will be updated in real time. So if you're clicking on a road to find out is this open or closed today, that may take you directly to 511 because that is updated in real time. But anything in terms of resources, where to reach out, how to register, all of that information is consolidated into one space right now. So it's a really helpful, it's a web-based portal at this time, and I think really helpful for Manitobans to get all their information in one place, and not just for evacuees. I mean, certainly I'm sure the media can access updated information, as well as all Manitobans who are looking to help or support their fellow citizens.
And is it only offered in English as of right now?
At this moment it is. We wanted to stand it up very quickly, but we're in process with the French content, so that should come out soon. Yes.
This week we heard from several First Nations who were putting call-outs to get equipment and resources to help fire suppression on the ground, and we've heard from Chief Moyes that they were able to get some of that. Wondering about the other First Nations. Have anyone been in contact with them? Are there efforts to get fire suppression resources into their communities?
Me? Yeah, so I think what's as we go forward, the communication I think is key. We've been in touch with the First Nations as what they need boots on the ground, and I think there's been a really concise and hardworking effort to close some of those gaps as regards to communication. So the portal, for example, is a good example of streamlining the information and getting the accurate information to communities, but also getting the support to the communities as well too. So we've engaged. So as you mentioned, Chief Monias was one committee, but also to Taskwayak and Puckatawagan as well too, being able to have boots on the ground and resources to hear what they need. So we are addressing those in real time. So what they need for the communities to protect the communities, but also for the areas as well too.
Question for Kristin. We heard that Flin Flon has avoided any structural loss, but we've heard that some cabins and homes outside the community have been lost. Does the province have any tally on how many properties have been lost in the fire so far outside of Flin Flon?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do know that there has been a number of structures lost in those areas. It's a bit tricky to give a specific number at this time because in a lot of cases, there's not a lot left. So we don't know if they're dwellings, garages, sheds, or they're outbuildings. So that assessment work is still underway before we're able to report numbers.
How are you getting the message to people who have lost properties? Is that the province that's doing that, or?
It depends on where they are. It can be the local authority. So if it's in a park area, it would be through the Parks branch. If it was in a municipal and northern relations area of jurisdiction, it would be through them. The RCMP also assists us sometimes with making those notifications. So it does depend on the situation.
Are you aware of any other structural losses in some of the other communities, Puckatawagan, Kamichikamak, those areas?
I am not aware of any structural losses in either of those communities.
With the fires in Flin Flon and Sheridan now merging and creating a much larger fire, what's the heightened risk for communities like Flin Flon? That structural damage hasn't come yet, but potentially we don't know what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly whenever you have a very large fire like that, you have a lot of area with just the right wind, depending on which the direction can come, that can move towards a community. At this time, that fire is on the other side of Flin Flon, so it's on kind of the northeast side of Flin Flon. Our main concern for Flin Flon at this time is the fire coming from Saskatchewan that's kind of on the doorstep of Creighton right now, as well as the fire 28, I believe, south of the community near Baker's Narrows. Those are the two that are more of a concern for Flin Flon right now.
What do we need to contain that blaze? Of course, the easy answer would be lots more water bombers, but what is needed to keep that from growing further?
The weather's cooperation will be helpful for sure, but obviously we can't control that. The Office of the Fire Commissioner, local fire departments, as well as the Wildfire Service have really been doing a good job of looking at what is the risk, where is that going to take place, and addressing those kind of key areas of concern, whether that's bulldozing a fire guard or doing value protection on structures. So there's a lot of analysis that goes into, you know, obviously when you have a very large fire, there's a lot of potential ways that it could go. So we really want to dial that down and look at specific key areas of concern based on the forecasting conditions.
Minister Bushie, quick question for you today. I spoke with an individual from northern Manitoba who was concerned about, we were talking about fire preventative measures going forward. He recalled that years ago, many communities in northern Manitoba had fire tack crews that would go in, sweep the areas, try to clear brush that could potentially start future fires. He's concerned that the province has cut back on those crews and that they could be a good resource going forward throughout the rest of the season. Would you be able to give me a comment on, I guess, the availability of this, if the province would be able to look into this going forward in the future?
Well, absolutely. I think the emergency firefighters program, I think is what you're alluding to there, has been kind of drawing out of communities in northern Manitoba, in particular First Nation communities as well too, for decades. So being able to stand that up and being able to get out in those communities in a proactive way to train up those people that can be called on in this time of need. So it is something that absolutely is on the radar to be able to stand up in a really solid way. And we'll do that in conjunction of talking with leadership in either Northern Affairs communities or First Nation communities to be able to have those at the ready. So as we go forward, absolutely, that's part of the discussion.
Maybe, I don't know if it's too soon for this or not, but for those who've been evacuated to Ontario or far from home, what kind of plan will be in place to help them get back and ensure that they do get back home to their families?
Yeah, we're certainly working closely with the First Nation leadership for folks that have been evacuated. And when it is safe for them to return home, we will ensure that all Manitobans come back home.
The fire near Flin Flon has also joined 2 fires from Saskatchewan, is that right? Do you know the answer to that, Kristin?
There's 2 fires from Saskatchewan, and there's also the one that was here already, Fire 24, that was previously from Saskatchewan. So 3 total, yes. It's a lot to keep track of.
And this has come up a few times in the last few days, but the possibility of using the Emergency Measures Act to free up hotel rooms in Winnipeg or elsewhere in Manitoba. Do you foresee any need for that at all in the days ahead?
That is always an option that's available to us if it is required. But at this time, we are working with the Manitoba Hotel Association. We're working with Tourism Manitoba and other tour operators in the province. It's a group effort to acquire the rooms that we need, ideally in this way, in a voluntary way, making available all available spaces to Manitobans who require it. And we have been making incredible progress on that front.
It's everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.